welcome to the first session of the day, really. This is Miss Sonia Robinson. She is a newly self-published author, and as she worked a long, hard journey, I think I met her the first time before she had even started writing the book. It's super great to see her come this far. And this is going to be her presentation on the power of pause. So I will let her take over.
Awesome. And I just noticed that my TM got moved over. Oh, well. Little snafu in the
power of
presentation.
That's the trademark is power of the.
Right. Just power. Power of the. Let's just change it. Thank you, Kaylee. Yes, a year ago, I was here with this idea rolling around in my noggin about writing a book, and Miss Georgina Cross, who will speak immediately after me this morning. Yes. Oh, I'm so glad I went first, Georgina. Following you would make me a little nervous. She was a mentor, an advisor as I was beginning this journey. And 5 months after coming to this summit last year, I held my book in my hand. So this is Paul's. Sometimes Stillness is the Strategy. It is a memoir. Yes, I wrote the first part of my memoir at age 44. I hope I live long enough to write the second half. But we're going to talk a little bit today about what led me to write my memoir. Tomorrow's session is all about writing a memoir. I mean, I'll get into the technical aspects of how I got to where I am today. But today, tease that up because my memoir was deeply rooted in a pause. I've taken 2 career pauses. Yes, scary. How many of you in the room are on a pause, whether you're in retirement, so semi-pause, but you're still working? Pause, sort of.
It's summer break and I'm a substitute.
Oh, okay, that's a pause. Anybody else on a career pause, whether intentional, whether chosen, or whether it was chosen? My first career pause happened in 2018, a year after I had completed chemotherapy. So at age 36, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. My prognosis was favorable. That didn't mean that the decisions that had to be made weren't easy. Surgery, chemotherapy, financial stability. My boys were 8 and 4. So being a mother to them. And I continued working full time because my children needed to see their mom get up, go to work, live a normal life. I love your pixie cut because I rocked that same look after I had to shave my head and then my hair started growing back and I would shave my head again. So I love that haircut so much. And I continued working full time because we're all taught when you are going through a challenge, you just push through. That's what we're taught to do. You just turn on the grit and you push through. And that is exactly what I did. I thought I could do it, and I thought I could continue to perform at my highest level and contribute meaningfully to a team. And no one would know that I was going through cancer or chemotherapy other than I had no hair. Well, that was not the case. Through chemotherapy, I didn't have any side effects. I gained 2 pounds on chemotherapy. The side effect that impacted me the most was chemo brain, where your cognitive function starts slowing down. You've got brain fog. I would sit in meetings and could barely form sentences. That led to a title demotion and a salary reduction due to my performance. And I stayed. I went and met with a trusted advisor and I shared with her what I was experiencing. She was way ahead of me in her career, and I knew that she had the wisdom that I needed in that moment. And Mark, you may know her, Linda Spalla. Linda retired from Channel 19. She was the general manager there for a number of years. And I reached out to her and I said, Linda, I need to share something with you. And I sat down with her over coffee and she listened to me explain what I was going through. She told me to do nothing. Because when my boss said to me, look, we can no longer justify your salary, your title, your performance just isn't there. I wanted to scream, I quit. I just wanted to quit. I wanted to go home. I wanted to rest. I wanted to recover. But Linda told me, she said, do nothing for 1 year. Do nothing. And at the end of that 1 year, if I still felt like I needed to step back, take some time off, if this workplace was no longer a good fit for me, then I could make the decision. But what that 1 year required of me was some very disciplined focus around financial stability, professional assets, building my network, professional evaluations of what do I want to do? Where do I want to take my career next if this is not the path? Emotional assets. Am I ready to step away from a career that deeply, deeply defines who I am? And at that 1 year mark, I resigned. Fast forward 2 years from that moment, I was invited back to that exact organization as CEO. So I share my pause story and talk about career pauses and that they are not the end. It is not the end of our identity. It's oftentimes for us to reinvent ourselves and go on to the next thing that we want to accomplish in life. The path that we were on, perhaps we've outgrown it. Maybe there's something else. So that's what we're going to talk about today is if you find yourself in that moment of needing to make a decision, whether voluntarily or involuntarily, what do you need to do to prepare yourselves mentally, emotionally for a career transition? And then prepare yourselves for re-entry and for the next thing. I know, Mark, you and I had a brief conversation before this session started, is you're working on a book. You've retired, but you haven't retired, Mark, let's just face it. But you're on to your next adventure. You're on to your next leg of your career. And writing is part of that. Some of you in this room may find that that is your path forward, whether it's songwriting, writing a book, speaking, or moving on into a different career, moving up the ladder into executive leadership. So the power of the pause. In the terms of leadership here, we're talking about self-leadership. Every one of you in this room is a leader. If you do not lead a team in a professional sense, you lead yourself. You are the leader of yourself. So that's what we're talking about. And stillness, when you need to pause, when you need to take a moment, when you need to sit still, that's not the absence of you leading yourself. That is actually where we start to really reflect and think about who we are and who we're becoming. So during my first career pause, it took me a year, and I worked through different scenarios. I worked through different processes as I went through the year to prepare myself for if I was going to make the decision to leave and pause my career 100%. And so we're going to go through those 6 disciplines. In the middle of your table, you have a note card and you have a pencil. So yes, there is going to be work. The first step in planning or preparing for a career pause, whether you're in a pause right now, whether you think down the road you may want to pause your career, is scenario intelligence. I chose the word intelligence because we are in the Rocket City. We have the FBI here. We have NASA here. There's a lot of intelligence work that goes into the DoD. So I just felt like intelligence was a sensible word choice for our scenario planning. So when we think about a career pause, and this is your first sort of action item, is we want to think about scenarios that may impact us. At age 36, I was not thinking cancer was going to be one of them. More and more young people are being diagnosed with cancer. So unfortunately, A health concern is something that we do need to be thinking about, whether it's cancer or some other health concern. So write down on your piece of paper or your note card, what's a scenario at this point in time in your life that you need to be planning for? It could be one, it could be two, a health crisis, caregiving responsibilities, whether it's for children, whether it's for a parent or an ill family member or friend, burnout. Let's not ignore the fact that some of us are going to go until we reach the end of our flame and we need to take a step back to recover. It could be a layoff. In today's economic conditions, it's not certain that when you enter your career, you're going to be there for a number of years like it was 20 or so years ago, or even 50 years ago, where you walked into a career and that was your career for the long term. That's just simply not the market conditions today. But think about scenarios that might lead you to have to pause. And a pause can be the length of time it takes for you to take a deep breath. Pause could be for a day, a week, a month, a year. My first career pause was 6 months. My second career pause was 18 months. So it can be any length of time. Before we move into financial runway, for a long time, I thought my situation was unique. And over the past, let's see, it's been 2018, 19, 20, and 7 years since I paused my career for the first time. Over those 7 years, and most recently within the last several months, I've been doing a lot more research into the modern career and how modern careers are no longer linear, as we just talked about. You're not in a workplace and in a career for a long time. Our careers have become very modular in the modern sense, in the modern definition. And my experience, in fact, was not that unique. I've had countless conversations with individuals who have found themselves on pause, and learning from them, hearing their stories and how they prepared. Were they even prepared? Some of them weren't. Once they were on pause, what decisions did they have to start making to keep their life on track, right? Again, our identities are deeply tied to our careers, our financial stability, deeply tied to our careers. But I was not unique, and neither is anyone else going through a career pause. Sorry to burst our bubbles, right? We're not special flowers. And starting this journey, I thought cancer was the story. I thought the career pause was the story. But in fact, the whole story is our life is made up of experiences that shape who we are and lead to what we have as value to deliver to other people through our experiences, through coaching, mentorship, through writing our stories. So financial runway. This is the second step in planning and preparing for a pause. It's a big one, because this is usually the moment where we become paralyzed and say, oh, I can't possibly pause my career because I have to have income. So for the year leading up to my first career pause, I knew that I had a decision to make at the end of that year. So I started planning and preparing financially a year in advance, tucking away every bit of money I had. And my mentor when I sat down and talked to him about what I was planning to do, he said, Sonia, you have to shed everything. You've got to get rid of everything that is not absolutely necessary. So the way I like to describe this process is sometimes in life, we're put in these situations where we have to take our lives down to the studs and completely get rid of things that do not serve the mission. And it can be a very, very fun and liberating process. I'm talking about going through your closet and getting rid of clothes that you no longer wear, like reducing the number of pairs of socks you have down to just enough to get you through a week. All the way down to when you're grocery shopping, which a lot of us are probably in this position right now because of the price of groceries. I pulled up the calculator on my phone, and everything that went into my buggy cost went into the calculator. And yes, there were moments where I was like, well, I guess I'm just going to have to put that back, right? Very, very disciplined financial controls leading up to my first career pause. Now, the juxtaposition of my first career pause to my second career pause, because my second career pause came a little more suddenly. I stay in a state of readiness for a life surprise because life is going to surprise us in beautiful and difficult ways, or both. So I'm constantly in a state of readiness for that. But my second career pause came a little more unexpectedly. While I had already proactively planned that I would pause my career again, I didn't know it was going to come this soon. I just bought a brand new Lexus GX, y'all. I loved it. I had to sell it. Yeah, I had to sell it. I mean, the whole thing of going to the Lexus dealership, it was around Christmas time. You couldn't find this vehicle, so I had to pre-order it. It finally came in. I go down to the dealership. I meet with the sales rep. Yes, I had him put the red bow on top of it. Great picture. Yes, loved that car. And then a few months later, I made the decision to step away. So she went on Facebook Marketplace, y'all, and she was sold within a second. I know, I'd heard horror stories. I did not want to do it. I'd heard horror stories about Facebook Marketplace. Oh, this is all the messages you're going to get and just the spam and it's everything. And so I was a little nervous and hesitant, but I was like, nope, hard decisions have to be made. I don't want to have to rush back into work. I've got to take my life back down to the studs. So let's have fun with this. Posted it on Marketplace. Again, this was a vehicle you could not get. So you had to pre-order it. You could not find them anywhere. And it was sold within a second from a dealership out of Texas. It was a wonderful experience. He flew in from Texas. We met at Redstone Federal Credit Union. I took my 2 teenage football playing boys with me as my security guards. And boom, sold my car. Turned around, used profit from that sale, and bought a 1978 Ford 100 truck. Nice. She's a beauty. I bet. I love this truck. It was very nostalgic for me because my grandfather used to drive me around in a truck like this. But I share that story so you can visualize the hard decisions that sometimes we have to make. And they're just decisions. It was just a car. I knew that eventually if I wanted a Lexus GX, and I don't know that I want one now. I don't know. I can always get another car. But what I could not buy was the time that I wanted. Time that I wanted to be able to write my book. The time that I wanted to be able to explore my next career. And that next level career for me, the professional stack looks a lot different. Spent a number of years in executive leadership, leading a team, accomplishing really, big goals and having a lot of fun doing it and learning a lot. But I wanted to experience and explore a lot of other things in my life and build the type of lifestyle I needed to be able to do that. And a Lexus GX just did not belong in that plan. The 1978 Ford truck, on the other hand, is solid. So financial stability. The next question for you is be thinking about things that you need to offload, or be thinking about how you would go about taking your life down to the studs, because it is scary when you start thinking about that. It is very scary when you start thinking about taking your life down to the studs, selling things, changing your lifestyle, not getting your nails done. All right, it always strikes a chord, Kaylee. It always strikes a chord with the ladies. Like, yes, hard decisions have to be made. And sometimes it involves our hair and not getting it colored, or maybe just cutting it short so you just worry it out. Could be not getting our nails done. So there are little things daily in our life that we can cut out immediately to center ourselves and put ourselves in the headspace to start preparing for a career pause or a career transition or another life surprise. Again, life is going to surprise us in beautiful and difficult ways. None of us are unique or not exposed to that, but we can be prepared for it when it happens. Think about how you would go about setting yourself up financially to be prepared for a career pause. All right, number 3, narrative control. And this is where I nerd out. My background is public relations. That's what I've built my entire career around. I started my career at Crestwood Medical Center, working in the marketing department. So I was the marketing coordinator. And for 8 years, public relations for the hospital was my job. And I loved it. Health fairs, news reporters going into the operating room. Things were a little different then. I doubt anyone would allow a news reporter into the operating room now, but it was at a time when bariatric surgery was becoming sort of mainstream, and news reporters wanted to cover this. Like, they wanted to understand the surgery. They wanted to follow patients. So I had the opportunity to follow patients, bring news reporters into the operating room. Yes. We dressed up in our little bunny suits, hair nets, sterile, all that. Didn't touch anything or get close to the patient, but they wanted that B-roll. And I was the one who often had to escort the news reporters into the operating room. And y'all, this was at a moment in my life. I had not gone through a medical crisis yet. I didn't like the sight of blood. So here I would be, like, over, just up against the wall, like not even looking, just like, oh, just get me out of here before I pass out. But that's how I started my career. And then I moved into executive leadership with a startup here in Huntsville, and it was a rocket ship. I just rode that rocket ship all the way to the top and landed in executive leadership and fell in love with it. I loved coaching and mentoring it. I loved setting goals and helping my team members achieve those goals. And that's where I thought I would sit for the rest of my career until life surprises us, right? And I started making some changes. So now today, with a wonderful career of 20 years behind me, how do I now shape the narrative for my future career, knowing that I've experienced 2 career pauses? And my professional stack today is of coaching, teaching, speaking, and writing. I'll be teaching my first class at UAH in a few weeks. It starts August 18th, August 17th, somewhere around in there. Teaching Intro to Public Relations. And I'm super pumped about that and exploring teaching as a new career path with the knowledge, skills, and abilities that I've brought with me. So the narrative around what we share when we leave our careers or we experience a transition, you control it. No one else can tell your story. No one. But if you don't tell it, other people will define it. So if you find yourself on a career pause or find yourself in a career transition, what is the story you're first telling yourself? Think about what you're telling yourself, and then think about the story that you want to be telling. How are you using this pause? Are you writing a book? Are you learning a new skill? Are you picking up an old hobby that you haven't had the time to pursue? Are you taking your life down to the studs to reinvent what's possible? Everyone in the room is a writer. Yes, I don't want to make that assumption, but I'm assuming that you're at a writer's summit. You're a writer. Write your story. Use that as one of your writing exercises. I don't journal every day. It's not a practice every day, but I do have a journal that when the mood strikes me, I'll sit down and I'll write. But journal, write your narrative. And you may be surprised with what bubbles to the top as you're writing your narrative. Go back over, for some of you, you have a lot of years to go over. For some of you, you don't have as many years, but look back over the years and what are some of the recurring themes? What stands out to you? What brought you joy? Where did you find this just overwhelming sense of happiness as you look back over your life and your years and your experience? And bring those themes forward, because sometimes what you do next is hidden in those themes. But write your narrative before someone else defines it for you. I did that as I was preparing for my first career pause. My first career pause, I took 4 months completely off. No professional networking, no dreaming about what I wanted to do. I took 4 months off to let my brain reset and recharge and recover. There was also grieving involved in that, because when you step away from a career that you love, you do need to grieve that career and release it. So for 4 months, nothing. I was just hanging out, chilling with my children, doing hobbies, going places, traveling. And then at the end of 4 months, I started transitioning into having conversations, scheduling coffee meetings, lunch meetings, conversations with my professional network. And I had to be prepared with my narrative. I couldn't come in and say, I talk about it now, but back then I did not talk about it. I couldn't sit down at the table and say, well, my boss reduced my salary, demoted me, all because of my performance. No, that wasn't the narrative that I wanted. That was not the narrative that I wanted out there. That was deeply personal to me and something for me to internalize and work through and learn how I glean wisdom from that experience and how it's going to shape me in the future. When I sat down and had professional conversations, I leaned in and said, look, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. As you can imagine, that experience knocked me back on my heels. I took some time off. None of the other details that led up to why I needed to step away came up. I just needed to take time off to focus on my recovery and to focus on my boys who were 8 and 4. They needed their mother and they needed her healthy. And then we moved into, I'm exploring this, I'm exploring that. And more often than not in those conversations, the other person would present a career opportunity to me. Hey, you need to contact so and so. Hey, I just saw this job opportunity. It would be perfect for you. Hey, send me your resume and I'll socialize it. So re-entering the paid workforce, you've got your narrative. Now we need to start preparing for re-entry. How do we do that?
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
I'm retiring, but I have a plan. So this is good for me. But my friend, who is vice president of a major company, her husband has ALS, and it is happening very quickly. And I'm going to get your book, and because she's really struggling with her career and the expectations, and although they've been good about it, it's just going to get worse. And it might be a time for her to take a pause. She's trying to work, but he's getting more, it's a horrible thing. But I don't know. I've just been thinking how perfect this is for her and for us today. So
Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
that's a major, it's
ALS is an ugly,
Finances,
mean disease. Not just for the patient, but for everyone involved. And it's a life surprise, right? It's not something that any of us sit back and go, oh, well, I need to plan to be diagnosed with ALS. No, we live our lives. And
she
then
planned to retire. Time I was.
Yeah.
And that's on but still, it seems like the only way to handle this is to pause and then come back. And how do you do that? So this is
we're going to get to re-entry, and maybe you'll be able to take some nuggets back to your friend to say, and give her permission. When I sat down with Linda and she told me to do nothing, it was almost like I was given permission. Like, what? You mean I could stop? Like, I don't have to do this?
she's not to that point where she even thinks she has an option.
Yeah.
But I think your book, she'd read it.
Thank you for sharing.
Positive vibes. Everybody says
Yeah,
positive vibes.
definitely. So before we get to reentry, because that is stage 6, the next one, number 4, is strategic advisory or advisory governance. Again, in the community that we live in, I thought that just sounded like a headline that would resonate. Making life decisions, career decisions, pausing your career, planning a career pause, should not be done in isolation. To your friend's point, talk to people. And that is the first thing I would encourage her to do, is put together her network of trusted advisors. Who are people that she deeply trusts and respects, people that are ahead of her, behind her in their career, people that she can really sit down and talk to about what is going on and hear different perspectives. Had I not said, okay, I need to talk to someone about this, I would have quit, y'all. I would have quit. I would have let emotion take over. When I heard the words, we can no longer justify your salary, I would have quit. And for the life of me, I don't know how I kept my mouth shut when I did. Something much larger and bigger and stronger than me kept my mouth shut. And I said, wait a minute. I need to think about this. I don't need to respond. I don't need to speak at this moment. I need somebody to help me. So I sought advice from a trusted advisor. And that's where I was given the permission of, yes, you can evaluate leaving, but you just got to be prepared to do it, Sonia. It would be irresponsible for you to make this decision right now. I needed to hear that. I needed to hear that it would be irresponsible for me to make this decision. Was it fun walking back into the office after just ugly face crying after a meeting on the phone with my mom, like, I can't do this anymore? Walking back in the office knowing that my salary and my title was being reduced? What were my colleagues going to say? They didn't know. I spoke of it to no one on my team. No one knew what had happened. I accepted it. I moved forward, and I continued to do my job and do it to the best of my abilities. And in fact, Linda also told me, I told her that my performance was slipping. The reason I knew this is I volunteered to take on a project. And I bombed this project. And that's when my performance started coming into question. And I knew it. I knew I didn't perform at the level that I should have been. So she also told me, she was like, do not volunteer for any projects or any work above and beyond what your daily responsibilities are. I did just that. I walked in every day, I fulfilled my responsibilities, and I left. Until one day, my boss approaches me, the same boss that gave me the title demotion and salary reduction, approached me and said, Sonia, we need you. Are you ready? I was. And I took on a high stakes project along with a colleague, and we blew it out of the water. And that is when I knew I was back. And I had the confidence then that I needed to move forward with my pause plan. Strategic advisory, talking to people about what you are experiencing. Select few, it doesn't have to be a whole lot of people. Select few. You don't want everyone knowing your dirty laundry, right? There are some that discretion is important. Talk to people about what your plans are, what you're thinking about, what's leading you to make these decisions. So Teddy, for your friend, that would be the conversation. We know what's leading her to make these decisions, her husband's health. Okay, now let's talk about what that looks like. What is the transition? What's the alternatives? How do we help her navigate this? So strategic governance, or strategic advisory government, sorry. And then my favorite, I just alluded to it, disciplined silence. Discernment. Not every detail has to be shared. There are some things that you're working on that you need to keep close to the cuff, that no one needs to know about. You might be writing a new book. Maybe you want to keep that close to the cuff until it's ready to be published. Maybe you're exploring another career path and you need to keep that close. Maybe you're choosing to leave a workplace and you need to keep that close. Discernment is important in any career, any aspect of your life. In an overly social world with social media, our knee-jerk often is to overshare. I waited 8 years before I even shared some of my deepest challenges, because those 8 years removed me from the emotion, allowed me to interpret the wisdom from the experience to a point where I felt like I then had a story worth sharing that could help others. So disciplined silence. How hard is it for y'all to stay quiet? Trust me. Trust me. It's tough. It's tough. Like, how do you just keep your mouth shut? It is a skill. We must practice it. Practice, practice, practice.
Learn the hard way.
Okay. Oh, do you have an example we need to hear? It sounds like you have an example we need to hear.
I don't, but you do learn the hard.
Your body is going to tell you likely when you need to keep your mouth shut. You're going to feel it in your gut. Your neck's probably going to start getting a little red. You're just going to feel this energy moving through your body, and you're like, I just have to get what is in my head out. And that is often your first sign that's telling you, no, you need to keep your mouth shut. So pay attention to your body. All right. Strategic re-entry. This is a big one, and one that's a lot of fun. This is where pausing your career becomes an experiment, if you will. Rapidly experimenting with what you want to do, where you want to go next. Do I want to write a book? If so, how do I build in time and space and bandwidth to do that? Do I want to be a songwriter? Do I want to be an artist? How do I build in time and space to be able to pursue these things? What's the next half of my career or the next leg of my career look like? How do I put things in motion to make that happen and make that a reality? So strategic reentry is a process. There are things that you can be doing to prepare yourself for reentry. And since Teddy mentioned her friend who is near retirement age, it sounds like.
She wanted to retire or whatever.
So that plan might be a little disrupted. But she may have to find time and space to actually pause and even step away from a career that she loves. Not because of anything that she's done, but just due to a difficult life surprise. And she may have to delay retirement if she's not able to retire now, right? What can she be doing to plan a pause and then also potentially plan reentry if the time comes? And those are hard life events to process and to navigate. But planning your reentry, going back to not making decisions in a siloed environment, but having conversations. This is where you're, again, back out there, having conversations, talking to people. If you want to write a book, who are you networking with? My second career pause, who do y'all think the first person I reached out to was? She's in this room.
Was I really your first? Oh, thanks.
I had this idea rolling around in my head. I wanted to write a book. I was on a career pause. This was the perfect time for me to actually tackle this goal. So I just reached on out to Georgina and I was like, hey. And she invited me to her word group, which is a fabulous group, meet once a month. And so I started going to the word group, meeting other authors, which led me here to the writing summit, Kaylee. I came here, still unsure if I was going to write a book. And I came to the writing summit. I only came on Thursday last year. I didn't even come back Friday. Why? Because I had a book to write, y'all. I got here on Thursday. I sat in session after session after session, a wonderful panel of local authors, including Georgina. And I kept hearing this recurring theme. Just write the book. Put words on paper. The book is not going to write itself. And I'm like, holy smokes, it sounds so easy. Okay, I'm going to write the book. So I left on Thursday. I went home. I'm going to write a book. And the next day, y'all, I sat down and words just started pouring out of me. And I'm going to talk more about this tomorrow, of the process that I went through to write my memoir, because I'm not a writer. Mark's a writer, like he is a professional writer. This is a career writer here. I'm not. And I didn't know I could do it until I sat down and started doing it. When I started, it was messy. It was so ugly. It was so ugly, y'all. It was messy. It wasn't in chronological order. I was writing memoir. Georgina's first advice to me was be reading what you want to write. So I started picking up memoirs left and right for research, reading memoirs. I'll share more tomorrow, but Matriarch by Tina Knowles was released right around the time I was sitting down and starting doing my writing. And I read her memoir and I was like, this is the book I want to write. And I used hers as my model. The goal was to get to the word count, nothing else. It was messy. I didn't worry about grammar. I didn't even look at spelling. I just had to get the words out on paper and get to a word count. And once I hit 60,000 words, that's when I transitioned into the mechanics of writing a book. Sentence structure, chronological order, crafting the narrative, the tone, emotion, all the elements that go into memoir. Once I had the word count, that's when I started focusing on the story. As I was writing, the story started to present itself. And there were some things that I wrote that ended up not making it into the final manuscript. There were some things I didn't write that made it into the final manuscript because over time, just certain stories and memories would resurface and I would capture them. So planning your reentry. This is a process in itself and requires disciplined focus, a disciplined strategy. The people you're having conversations with matter. I share that example because I knew I wanted to potentially write a book. So I went to the sources where I knew I could find out if this was my path, through Georgina, through the Word Group, through the Writing and Arts Summit. And the Writing Center is referenced in my book as a catalyst to me completing my project. So it's really full circle for me to be here. Thank you so much. Strategic reentry. Circle for me to see you. Yeah. Okay. We've gone through disruptions you need to prepare for, the financial margin you need to create. Let's now, if you still have room on your note card or find another note card, we've got a few more minutes and then we're going to open it up for discussion. But give some thought to decisions that may require you to be patient. How many of you are good with patience? Right?
No, I diligently practice patience on a daily basis.
Patience is hard.
No, I know that that is my strong suit. Like truthfully, I practice it. I genuinely do. Like
You're a very patient person.
I am. Yeah. I don't know why. I just
You just
to be.
kind of just walk through life like, okay.
It's not fun. It comes with cons. It really does. It comes with being taken advantage of a lot and
Yeah. It's a skill I've had to
being
develop.
walked over. But I'm very overly patient.
It's a skill I've had to develop because I want to go full speed. I want to just, when I sat down to start writing, it's like, well, I just want all 60,000 words to appear right now. Like, where are they? Patience is forged through writing a book. Writing a book, patience is forged. But think about anything that's going on in your life right now where patience may be required. And how are you going to center yourself in the stillness and the timetable to accomplish that goal? Earlier this year, I set a goal of, I want to start teaching. How do I become an adjunct professor? And I've had to wait and wait months before I could start. But I've used those months to prepare, read my textbook, prepare my presentations. But man, once I got the job, once I was told you're hired, it was going to be months before I got to see the fruits of my initiative and what I had worked hard to obtain. It was going to be months before I was going to be able to step into the classroom and start teaching. So I've had to really lean in on my patience the last several months leading up to the moment I step into the classroom. And I'm really excited about that. And I'll be posting about it, celebrating it. So if y'all follow me on social media and celebrate with me. So think about something that's going to require your patience. And then the next question is the leader I am becoming. As you recall, when we started this, leadership here is self-leadership. You are a leader, regardless of whether you lead a team, lead a project, are an executive leader, a leader in an organization. You are your leader. Who are you becoming? Give some reflective thought to that. I'll let y'all read this and let it sink in. Since we're our own leaders, we're responsible for ourselves. Things are happening to us that we have to respond to, react to. Walking through the power of the pause, it's all about being prepared for life's beautiful or difficult surprises. And preparation creates opportunities. Opportunities that you wouldn't have even thought of. Opportunities to write the book. Opportunities to write the songs. Opportunities to produce the art. Opportunities to leave. So more from Mamie Ruth & Co., and this might be good for your friend. I do have a series of virtual events coming up starting in August. These are going to be just via Zoom, where we walk through the pause. This is specifically for individuals who may be preparing for or find themselves in a career pause or the need to transition. So we're going to go a little deeper into each topic and walk through how to be prepared to pause, what to do when you're on pause, how to use that time productively and healthy. Being on pause is not a time to sit on the couch and watch TV and eat Cheetos. Being on pause is a time to really take action for your life and for your career and accomplish some really amazing things, like write a book. So we'll go through the power of the pause, much like what we talked about today. On pause, now what? And then reframing the pause, reframing the narrative. Individuals that I talk to, they tell me, Sonia, I'm scared to tell someone about my pause. Like, how do I talk about it in an interview? How do I put it on my LinkedIn profile? How do I talk about it on my resume? Well, if you paused your career to write a book, that's what you're going to talk about, right? So we're going to work through the mechanics of repositioning yourself once you come out of a pause. So those are coming up. And then, of course, I would just be delighted if y'all would follow along on social media. I have accepted an opportunity to speak at an international conference. And so I really need to work on beefing up my social media following. So y'all would do me quite the honor if you would follow along on your favorite social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Mamie Ruth & Co., and follow my journey as I continue to pursue the things that I love and build this new professional stack coming out of a second career pause. So, questions, comments, feedback.
Where's the conference? I'm just curious.
It's a virtual conference, but it is international. So cool. Yeah. I'm starting to meet other speakers, and it's just phenomenal. They're everywhere.
I was just thinking the same thing. Just hearing your story and knowing where you came from last year to here is just so inspirational. Like, I'm so happy for you.
I agree, because you came to the writing summit last year, and then 2 months later, you're like, I finished my book.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It was insane. Like, I had writer's insomnia. Has anyone else in this room experienced? Mark,
That was me last night.
Insomnia?
I wasn't in bed till like 3 a.m. this morning.
Not for 2 weeks, y'all. I don't think I spent it.
I can't, like, I'll play out.
And my son, my youngest son, would joke, like, he would see me emerge from my writing little nook was in my bedroom. And so I would emerge from my bedroom and go to the kitchen and pour a cup of coffee and I wouldn't even speak. Turn around and go back to my bedroom, and Max was like, Mom, it was just so bizarre. But I wrote a book.
Yeah, that was.
She had a question.
Okay.
How is it possible to take a pause when you're kind of paycheck to paycheck? Because I'm so burnt out.
It depends. It depends. If you are burnt out and you're like, I need time and space to focus on something else, or time and space to evaluate another path, you're going to have to take your life down to the studs. And if you say, Sonia, I'm already at the studs, well, then, start thinking about how you get creative with your funding. It may not be that you can leave work 100%, but if you're burnt out on the path that you're currently on, maybe leave that path and pick up another path. So I was talking to a colleague. She just recently paused her career, and she's like, Sonia, I think I just want to go to Walmart and be a greeter. And I'm like, do it. Do it. I thought about being a barista just to give me something to do, right? And earn a little bit of extra cash. I did consulting work, so there might be a skill that you have that you can do for freelance. If you need to take a step back, let your brain catch up, let yourself recover, and let you figure out what your next path is. You can be creative in how you pause.
So I did that. I was a classroom teacher for like 15 years, and I knew that I was hitting burnout. COVID played a big role in that. I was also had started writing a book, and I was like, I'm never going to even finish this first draft as long as I'm in the classroom because I don't have the brain space for it. At the end of the day, I'm so tired. And so it was a year ago this past May, I finished, no, 2 years ago, I finished my last year in the classroom. And I stepped into just another position as a literacy specialist. But I was teaching one-on-one. I was able to keep my salary, not take a raise, but keep my salary. And I lost like an hour on my work day. So there was a give and take, but I was able to still stay in a job that didn't take so much of me mentally. I never would have finished that book if I had stayed in the classroom. I know that 100%.
Yeah, I'm a substitute teacher. I do babysit kids.
It's tiring. It's really, it wears you down. As much joy as there is in it. That's the burnout. That's what I look at. And even as I'm a literacy specialist now, I don't hate what I do by any means. I enjoy what I do, but I still I know that's not my end game. And so I hear what you're saying when you're talking about that, preparing for that career transition. Because I feel like I'm there again. Maybe not next year, maybe not the following year, but I don't see myself doing that in the next 5 years.
Thank you for sharing. The other thing I would say is it doesn't have to be forever.
Mhm.
You might step out of substitute teaching and explore something else. Kick the can. For young kids coming out of high school or college, if they're not planning to go to college right out of high school, I encourage them to explore as many jobs. Like go work for Chick-fil-A for 6 months and then quit. Go work here. Expand your awareness around what is possible and where you want to be, and just rapidly experiment. Commit to something for 3 months, 6 months. When you depart, do it respectfully. Don't burn any bridges, but give yourself permission to rapidly experiment. Mark.
I want to add a couple of amens to what you said. I got paused. Y'all are all too young to remember there used to be a thing in the world called newspapers. And I did that for about 40 years. And the last stint was at the Still Times as a columnist for 17 years. And they decided that we weren't needed. And y'all know what that place has become. So a couple of things in that. One, the reentry part of things, I sort of saw where the newspaper business was going. Well, I was working 40 years in the newspaper business, college dropout. I've been working in a newspaper and going to school full time back in the Stone Ages and never finished. And I am a proud graduate of Athens State from 2014, which really screwed up the average age of graduating.
We don't mind.
I referred to as it was my senior year and my senior years. But it got me, first of all, it exposed me to a lot. I learned a lot, but it also gave me that piece of paper that turned out to be extremely valuable as I got paused. one thing she brought up was the disciplined silence. We used to have a newsroom of 100 people, but it went down to a dozen. And I saw so many people who were part of the purges, laid off, who did not have that disciplined silence. And they would go to their next opportunity and whine and complain about how bad things are, how bad people got treated, and their attitudes going into that, I think, cost them. And it's interesting now. It would be a wonderful psychological profile to go find people and just see how many people were able to reinvent themselves. And I see these people all the time, and how many people, and there's still some people up there that involved in that organization that I don't care a lot about, but there's some people who are just still so bitter about everything that happened, and they never were able to rebound. I felt like I was lucky enough to stumble onto the adult degree program here at Athens State, which Alicia and those people are they were my angels.
I work here, so I'm so proud of
Okay,
you.
they are, yes, I even bought a class ring. I started wearing it today. Put on 2014. But that part, and the other one that I think I even would have told people back in my past career, or any of them, is people are watching you. They're watching you all the time. And I was very, very lucky. I had life preservers thrown my way from all different corners after the Times let me go. Channel 19 hired me as a contributor. Thank God, not on the air very much with this face. I have a face for newspapers. but Mayor Battle put me on staff for a couple of years. Been lucky enough to move on some other things. And it was not necessarily they weren't looking at my old clippings, go, oh, Mark can write. I think it was kind of the way that they had seen me conduct my business through the years and some trust. So that's one people are always watching. And that's one of the things you keep in mind in your current career. When that pause inevitably happens, you're much better armed and to take that next step.
Thank you for sharing that, Mark. Congratulations on getting your degree. That's a beautiful.
Well, it was ridiculous, and this is why I had no idea how to kind of pull this out. But it was still a degree, so there's a lot of, and I took a lot of online classes. Ended up taking 33 hours on campus. Part of the program is you write a portfolio about your life experiences, which is a lot more than turning in a resume, trust me, my portfolio. So I was lucky enough to do that. And at the same time that I enrolled here, I got a call from a publisher to write my second book. So I was working on a book while working as a columnist, which is, I was never working a 40-hour week at the paper. It was always a 20-hour week or a 60-hour week, depending on events and travel. So I managed to learn time management. That's another skill. Pick that one up, learn time management, teach your kids, yada, yada on that one. But yeah, I was really proud of Oh my God. What are you doing here?
He's here to interview you, Mark.
Sometimes your past life will haunt you.
Oh, that is so funny.
I've only known this one for
Let me move.
20 years. You're not getting me. No, I'm not in this. He knows not to get me. We're
all getting in it.
Years between us, behind us, or more.
We're all getting in it.
Mark, I gotta get you.
What camera is that?
Mark, this has nothing to do with this, but I worked for the Huntsville Times when I was